Bet online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in-game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BLEAV50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where the game starts.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of BLEAV and Bills podcast. I am Justus General Radford, and as always, I am joined by the superstar, legend in two games like Pee Wee, Coach Muki Hawkins. What's going on, Coach? How you doing, man?
What's going on, Justus? Just getting in, man. You know, it's always a constant grind, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what happens when you work as hard as yourself. But we got some business to handle tonight. We're going to be talking draft because it's draft week, of course. Thursday is the big day. And, hey, we one day closer and to seeing who is the newest member of the Buffalo Bills. So we're going to talk a little bit about it tonight. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into what our team needs. You know, what do we need in this draft? Like, how have the offseason went to the point where we need certain positions and, you know, where we could use some depth, etc. Now, we're going to also talk about some of our favorite prospects, of course, in this BLEAV draft week. So let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, Tremaine Edmonds is gone, right? Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, they're getting older, right? We lost our bell cow back in Devin Singletary, or I don't even want to call him a bell cow, our RB1 in Devin Singletary, right? Offensive line has always been kind of an issue. Defensive line has always been kind of an issue. There's a lot of different places we can go toward the draft. So what do you think are the biggest needs for the Buffalo Bills this offseason coming Thursday?
I mean, when you look at it, you know, the game is always one up front, right? The Bills have those pieces, but I mean, something just isn't connecting at some point, right? I mean, you know, for years you know, I know Bills fans have known that, hey, they put, you know, a Super Bowl team together. They just fell short in areas, you know, to now where I guess, you know, those areas need to be addressed. If it ain't players, then what is it? You know, so the more and more you mentioned those names like Poyer and Hyde, man, I know Bills fans is very excited about that because just imagine if those guys weren't available with the state that the Bills are still in at this point. I mean, losing Tremaine Edmonds was a big blow. I mean, in a lot of people's eyes, but not everybody's eyes. So I still feel that, you know, that that's a void right now on the Bills roster. Probably the biggest void, you know, on the Bills roster. You will make that probably, you know, a tier one responsibility. You know, Tyrell Dodson's he's good, but you know he can't guarantee you. You know, he's under 1 year deal, and you know you got to play. You know, the same way, well, not even the same way. You just got to be able to play a 16-game season. So I think the Bills are still going to look at some sort of youth movement with that because they can't have too many linebackers, especially at stat backer playing 6'1", 230 inside. Like, I just don't see that happening. You know what I mean? A more stouter, bigger guy, you know, at the linebacker position. I still feel that it's a few of them out there. If you put your board together correctly, just in my opinion, you know what I mean? Everybody has their own opinion on how the Bills should go about, you know, with a draft pick, right? But, you know, everybody look at the game different. Me, offensively, I'm still saying tight end. I just don't see. I mean, the tight end is kind of like the common denominator of the balance of within. You know, the tight end right now gives you balance. You know, an extra blocker. in the up front, right? Up front. We keep talking about up front. A tight end. I mean, the best blocking tight end in this draft, a freak at blocking like that. I don't even know if those two, you know, go together. You know what I mean? How you a freak at blocking? Like it never imaginable that this specimen of a football player, what I mean, just loves to block, and he runs a 4.6, and he's
Well,
6'7".
we gonna get into that
I'm
a
just
little bit
saying
later.
that just makes everything to me in my eyes, just looking at how this Bills team is constructed. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, get players in that first round that's gonna make an immediate impact. Not no, well, we're gonna develop them into an impact player. No, first rounders must be able to pay dividends right now. Right now. You know what I mean? So, if not, why do we draft you in the first round? So, it has to be a plan on top of, the player's abilities as well. So we'll see in a couple days.
Yes, we will see in a couple of days. So, in your statement, I heard you mention linebacker, and you kind of talked about how that's a bit of a hole right now, just in terms of experience from the depth pieces that we do have. We don't know if they could fill that role, right? People talk about Tremaine Edmonds being a huge, part of our defense that is now gone, and I really don't think that the people who don't feel that way are kind of don't even respect your opinion. Honestly, like that's ridiculous.
It's
You know what I
cool.
mean? So, but looking at it, there are some linebackers that could potentially take that job, and we'll talk about how you what you think the Bills should do as well as what we think the Bills will do, right? Um, so I heard you mention linebacker. I heard you mention tight end. If you had to give me one more position, the next most pertinent position that the Bills need to address this weekend, what else would it be?
I mean, then that really becomes who the best person is available at right now would be um, pick 91 would be the Bills' third round pick. It'd be their third pick. And that if you I mean that's a true best player available, whether it could be a Javante Dexter still available at 91, a Zach Pickens still available at 91. Um, on the flip side of tackle, we do know there's still a need at tackle. Everybody still feel as though that they need to make some improvements on that right side. So maybe a guy like Tyler Steen from Alabama could be available. Perhaps Matt Bergeron, he could slide to 91. So, you got those. I mean, you got some cornerbacks, you got some safeties, and other safeties the Bills could use. Jordan Battle could be available. You pull the trigger on that. So there's
Okay,
definitely some
so
good pieces out there in the third round. You can go after A.T. Perry. He can still be available from out of Wake Forest. So,
you you naming all the players for the next segment, Mook.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm going with my Mel Kiper right now.
I
My bad.
know. That's for the next episode. But it's all good. All right. So top three: linebacker, tight end, best player available. Now you kind of started to mention that as far as a third round type of deal. At 27, do you think that it goes in that order? Tight end, linebacker, best player available as well.
Um, I would think so. I mean, if we're pinpointing tight end, of course, next pick has to be a linebacker. It has to be the best available linebacker around. Do I shut up right there, or do I keep going on potential prospects at that point?
No, I mean we here now. We might as well get into the players here. So taking a look at, we're just going to look at these three positions because I mean the third one obviously encompasses every other position. But let's start off with tight end. Now, anybody who knows Muki, who listens to any pieces of our content, knows who Muki's draft crush is this year, right? So we might as well go ahead and get it out the way, right? Darnell Washington, the big O, tight end out of Georgia. He is what do you call it? 6'7", 6'6", 6'7",
Yes, sir.
300
6'7".
pounds,
Don't nickname it.
280, something around that range. Running a 4.640 I mean, and one of the best blocking tight ends in maybe the draft era, possibly. You know what I mean? In terms of just being dominant, off the line. This is somebody who you have said to you want, for a really long time now. So just talk about some of the things that he would bring to the ball club and some of the ways that he will help the Bills offense.
I mean, again, we talk about this. We've been talking about at least for the past month straight. You look at the Bills. We talk about the Bills that they is so damn bad, right? But certain things it's kind of like obvious in categories, with the Bills. Like it's obvious and it shouldn't be that way, Like so what are we doing? That's just like the head scratcher with what's really been happening with this team the past couple of years. So it's like, well, okay. At the end of the day, you have, this tight end that scheme fit. If anybody knows Ken Dorsey, 12 personnel, man. It goes back to Shockey and Olsen. They have yet to find that combination. And I'm telling you, if you look at the Bills offense in the preseason, in training camp, it did not look like that in the regular season. I don't know what went on with OJ Howard, but I guess it kind of set the offense back because they didn't really feel that tight end number 2 role. So I think then okay, if you made it a priority to go get OJ Howard after you just extended tight end number 1, that's lead me to believe that okay, in the scheme of things, this is what you need. So if this is what you need 12 personnel, you need a hybrid, and you need a blocking tight end for it to even work. So you got a serviceable tight end number 1 in Dawson. Go get you the best young blocking tight end that's yet to come into the league. And he could be the best blocking tight end for the next 10 years for you. And man, like imagine that. Imagine having Kelsey, on team. Or yeah, I know his comp is Mercedes Lewis, but his ceiling is so high, it could go to a Gronkowski or a Darren Waller. Like it can get to that. If he's hanging around a guy like Stephon Diggs, his route running will definitely get better. It has no choice. But at least we know he can block. That's his instinct. I'm going to get that.
Yeah, you talked about his high ceiling, and you talked about his blocking ability, but I really think you undersold his just ability as a tight end, a receiving tight end as well.
Right. I
Just
ain't even get to that. Right.
yeah, exactly. Like you're so high on the blocking that that the other benefits kind of just like are like icing on top of the cake.
Well, not tight end number 2 is in the red zone. He's the forgotten man, so
Right.
he can release out on you. He can take up a lot of space in the middle of the field for you, and he's a mismatch problem if you go trips left with Darnell Washington to the right. He's one-on-one with either your a safety or a linebacker. What are we talking about here? What are we doing? Some mismatches all over the place. What you gonna double? You gonna double this big guy and Diggs playing the third man in on the left? All right. Don't forget the quarterback can run now. Josh Allen would probably walk in so easily. Just with that guy inside the 20. The Bills can score up and down the field, but when they get inside the 20, they struggle. And they don't run the ball. They're not using play action enough. That's because you need a tight end number 2, to make things really work in that system. It opens up the one-on-one while you got 2 dynamic tight ends operating in the middle of the field, and balancing out your run game. So I think that's the issue. The red zone. There's nothing else for the Bills to do but fix what's happening in the red zone offensively. They can turn those sevens into, if they can turn those threes to sevens, like these games will really be out of reach. So no problem getting up and down to 20. They got to fix what's happening inside the red zone. 12 personnel.
Yeah, you mentioned turning the threes into sevens, and that is something that the Bills would. I mean, they are already top 3 high scoring teams, right? So being able to turn those threes into sevens would take you exponentially over the top to where it's really not even a competition almost, because their offense is that dynamic, their quarterback is that dynamic, right? And a lot of times last year we saw Dawson Knox lined up at the fullbacker position in the pistol, right? And can you imagine having Dawson Knox split out, and and having Big O in that position there, standing next to Josh Allen. How crazy that looks. You
Imagine that
basically
split zone. That's split zone. Imagine that split zone. That combination. He can be the big slot. You know what I mean? He could be that big slot right there.
you can
Steph
also
Diggs can run underneath that. There's so many things you can do, with a guy like Darnell Washington on your team. I don't know why people in the draft trying to downplay it. Better not do that. They better not do that. Try to make his stocks fake slip, and then people gonna think he gonna be available. Towards the end of the second, and he is not going to be there at the end of the second round. I have a grade on him to be selected no more than 41. That's the highest I'm getting with him.
yeah.
He'll be off the board before Tennessee pick at 41. If not, Tennessee pick at 41. If the Bills don't jump in front of that. That's all I'm saying. There's a few other teams too, that can use a tight end, in that second round that pick before the Bills, if they so happen not to address it, with the first pick at 27.
Yeah, having a dynamic blocker like that in the backfield, standing next to Josh Allen. You do your hard work to get past the man in front of you, the guard or the tackle or whatever the case, and then you got a whole nother lineman to get past. So, on top of being a potentially dynamic receiver as well, I always mention he looks like a bigger, thicker Kyle Pitts to me, and that is just insane. He runs a 4.6, which is even nuttier. So that is Mookie's pick, right? As far as tight ends go, right? So let's go ahead and to get in to what do you think Brandon's pick would be?
You're going to try to make me dive into the mind of the burglar, huh?
A little bit.
Just trying to read in between the lines of what the burglar has been talking in these past few pressers. I think they're going to trade back. But this dude is a master smoke screener, so he's good at throwing people off. I think, this was talking with 27, right? We ain't talking about the entire 27. I say if that guy is there on the board and for best available players on the board, like it's gonna tell me some things though. Say like if Quentin Johnson is on the board, right? Let's just say Quentin Johnson's on the board and the Bills don't get Quentin Johnson. They go tight end. Let's say they stick at 27, they take tight end. Right? Quentin Johnson on the board. Bumped out. We go get tight end. What that might tell you. They don't address, Quentin Johnson, sitting there, at 27, and the Bills just go get the tight end. They got me. I think that's a big need. Everybody say receiver too, though. Everybody say receiver, but guess what? It's hard to find a blocking receiver. If you want to improve your run game, and this game is one up front, I'm gonna go get a tight end. I don't need too many. I got Diggs on the contract. I got Knox on the contract. Gabe's contract, is coming up. So I don't need, and draft another receiver at 27. I don't need to draft a receiver at 27. Maybe down the line, but if they bypass Quentin, that let me know they are going to at some point check the temperature of the Arizona Cardinals.
I guess
if some things can happen.
We have to wait and see. I tend to agree with you. Of course, you have your ear to all this, so you have more knowledge than most of us do. But if I had to go with my gut feeling, I'd see a trade back too. And I really think that might be the smartest option. Is we've also mentioned a lot. That, a lot of people really don't have that many first round grades in this draft. And so when you picking later than 20, it kind of puts you in a predicament where it's like you're not going to get your value unless someone slips. So trading back to maybe a desperate team who maybe likes another guy who's already had a pick in the first round, wants to go get that guy, you get extra assets back. That could work for us very well. So we'll see what happens there. All right, now, wait. You think it was a player though. You Quentin Johnson, and you see how they feel about Quentin Johnson. But if there was one player, give me two players that could make the Bills stick around and say, gonna go ahead and pull the trigger here.
Man.
Bijan Robinson, did you say?
Nah. Well,
Is that what
Bijan
you said?
Robinson don't get past Dallas at 26. We already came to that conclusion. There's no way that Bijan Robinson is going to slide to 27.
But if he did,
I mean, I'll be talking about it, saying, "Hey, Bijan Robinson," but I don't think that guy slides, man.
but let's say on a far distant universe, and Bijan Robinson slips to 27, or the Cowboys trade for a running back in the top 20 picks, whatever the case may be, and he slips to 27. Does Brandon Beane pull the trigger there?
Me reading in between the lines, even though they went to dinner and all that, I mean, I'm gonna say no right now. We're a passing team until they show me that they're just putting the ball in the running back's belly. Then I can believe that. But just what I see, that to me, if I'm scouting the Bills, they're a passing team. So they lean more quicker to a wide receiver than a running back. That's just based upon what I mean, the scheme of things.
All right, so two players who they are, or who they're, and this could be. I mean, this is a fantasy land right now, right? So this is just the draft is wacky. Give me two players who, if they did happen to slip, the Bills say, "I'm pulling the trigger."
I would say Quentin Johnson. He has that, potential. If he slides to 27, the Bills can go ahead and start with a younger, more dynamic player rather than a polished wide receiver and a DeAndre Hopkins. I think that DeAndre Hopkins will give the Bills a better chance to win the Super Bowl, compete for a Super Bowl, rather than taking a receiver, because now you got to basically break a rookie all in. I know it's his first crack and all that stuff, but at this point, I'll be trying to swing for the fences to get, my receiving room some help. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins gonna open it up. Imagine if the Bills draft
Quentin Johnson and Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington to trade for Hawkins. Do you have any idea what the combinations would be looking like out there on the field? With throw a Gabe Davis in there,
And you
Stephon,
already
obviously.
added Sherfield and Hartman. You got
Right,
plenty of
right,
speed on the field now.
right. That's all I'm saying. I mean, and it's a scenario. I mean, people feel that
Well,
goes well.
let's dig into that a little bit, right? But why not, right? You've added so many assets to the defense. We haven't drafted an offensive player, in the first round since Josh Allen, I think. We used our first on Stephon Diggs, but we don't have very many blue chip players on offense outside of Josh and Diggs, right? So what is stopping them from saying, let's go all in on Josh. Let's go all in on this offense, and let's see if they can score enough points to win us a Super Bowl and get Jackson Smith and Jigba or Quentin Johnson, right? Or and then also go and get a Darnell Washington.
That's too much. You're getting Jigba and Washington.
But why is it too much though?
I don't know how you can get a Jigba and Washington in the same draft. You got two potential first rounders. Like,
Darnell
say what
Washington,
you want to say. Darnell Washington is a late first round to a mid second.
No. I know, but we're still in fantasy land right now.
No, I want to be in fantasy land. I was in fantasy land last season, and Cincinnati whooped our ass. I don't want to. I'm done with fantasy land.
Yeah, but if we don't, then we have to talk about trading back, and we have to talk about 27, which we both think they're going to trade back. So
yeah, I think I mean, I don't know. I think it would be more better for them to do. I mean, but who am I? They may move up and go get a guy. I know that'll shock everybody if the Bills go ahead and just move up. Like, yep, we're gonna get him. We'll see. It's been kind of quiet in draft land since Monday. Things got quiet other than Aaron Rodgers being traded. It's been pretty damn quiet this week.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Aaron Rodgers thing. Yeah, but we on draft right now. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, that ain't about nothing right now.
Yeah. All right. So, No Bijan Robinson, right? Maybe on a Quentin Johnston. One more player.
One more player. Herndon Hooker. No, I'm just kidding.
You be playing.
uh, you know what? If a guy like Darnell Wright from Tennessee slides, I won't mind pulling the trigger on that. Um, it's Daoud Jones is starting to slide, to the point where he can be available maybe at pick 59, so, but I think it's still more better offensive tackle that suits your scheme, um, rather than going up high to get an impact player, especially what the Bills have already up front under contract. Like, I mean, to be realistic, what's going on? Unless you draft that guy to go in here, he's going to beat that guy, then you must have a plan, taking a lineman that high when you pretty much got all five of those guys under contract. So, I read in between those lines too, so
No,
that's part of it.
I would be very comfortable with the Bills taking the lineman here, which is odd for me because I'm typically like skill players. But I mean, I feel like we have plenty of talent. We if we shore up our offensive and defensive lines, there would really be no question. You know what I mean? Like the Bengals had three backups on the offensive line last year, and we did absolutely nothing with that information. So clearly, the trenches are a problem for us. All right, so we talked about best players available. We talked about Darnell Wright, Dewan Jones. So the Bills may be pulling the trigger on linemen there in the first round, or possibly a Quentin Johnston, right? So let's go ahead and now start to get into linebackers, which was the third position that you said that the Bills needed outside of tight end and best player available, right? So who are some linebackers that you like?
Well, obviously Jack Campbell, because he has the Tremaine Edmonds mold. You know what I mean? 6'5", 240 pounds. Run downhill, plays downhill. Um, he can tackle in space for you. Not bad in coverage, and he has the ability to share blocks. So
It's actually really
natural
well.
instincts, and Coach McDermott loved those Iowa guys for some
Yeah.
reason. So um,
No, Jack Campbell, like really just on tape, on film, he really just seems like a Sean McDermott guy in
right.
every way, every sense of it. He plays exactly how they wanted Tremaine Edmonds to play,
hmm
literally.
So I say he's high on the list. The next guy I think that will probably fit that bill. Um, they say Drew Sanders, but I don't think Drew Sanders is a scheme fit to me. I think he still has a lot to learn playing stack backer. There's a difference from being a stack backer and a middle linebacker. All right. So I just don't think he has the measurables to play inside. You cannot be 6'1", 230 pounds, thinking that you're about to take on a 6'6", 305-pound guy. I just don't see, see no logic with that battle. That algebraically, we all know who's winning. Newton laws of physics will let you know who will win that battle right there. So I think we need guys that fit that mold. They're that 6'4", 240, 250 range type of linebacker. And Trenton Simpson, he's right on the cusp of that. He's borderline with the measurables right there. But I would have to say him number two. I mean, Drew Sanders. If you develop him, then I think he has still ways to go on shedding blacks. He has a more lean frame. It looks like to me than Jack Campbell and Trenton Simpson. Another guy that I'm high on is Noah Sewell. Out of Oregon. He has the size. He's another guy that could be available for you in the later rounds. You know, and he's more stout, more physical. He has this, he's about what 6'3", 240, 250. So somebody like stout like that, I think would be able to battle a little bit more in the trenches at the second level.
Brother of Panay Sewell. Obviously there. So all right, Jack Campbell knows well. I tend to agree there. I have my favorite players, but there's also players that I think the Bills are going to draft. And the only thing is, really, we're not going to see any Leslie Frazier this year. So, although it can be argued as to whose defense it has been the last, half decade, this year we could theoretically see a shift in philosophy, right? Ron Rivera talked about Sean McDermott, and when he coached with him, he was super aggressive on defense. He was always wanted to be overly aggressive. Well, in the years that he's been here, he has been extremely conservative. So maybe this is where he tries to meet in the middle and tries to find some happy middle ground there, because I feel like he can. They have good defenses all the time, but they don't have great defenses against great teams. So that'll be interesting to see. Let's address something that we got in the comment section, right? Our guy, Mr. Dean Kindig, he is our draft specialist. Um, he's asked, he says he wants hog mollies in the first 3 rounds. 3 hog mollies in the first 5 picks. Now, let's say theoretically the Bills do trade back, which we both expect to happen. Could you see this happening if the Bills have, 4 or 5 picks in the top 100?
Yeah, I mean, if they catch Indy right at pick 35, they need to feel they need to jump back in. Let's just say Indy don't take quarterback with pick number 4. They got to get back in the game somehow. I mean, whatever's the fourth quarterback on the board, then we'll see how much they want to invest in jumping ahead that way, or they can jump back in at 27, and maybe a Levis might slide. He may slide. Worst case, you still got Herndon Hooker available right there. So they may can get back in the game that way. It's all types of things that the teams are willing to do, especially accumulate picks. But, you know, Indy needs more than a quarterback. So, they may go get Gonzalez from out of Oregon, at number 4. They may have a different strategy. You never know how this draft may shake out this year. That's why it's been quiet these past couple of days. Normally, a unanimous number 1 overall pick would have been already had and had his jersey pressed, all of that. It'd have been done already. But now you don't know what they're going to do at number 1. We know they're going to take a quarterback. We just don't know which one that they're going to take. Anyway, I kind of do, but Bills Believe in Bills podcast. Guess we talk about that another time. But tomorrow, maybe.
Tomorrow, absolutely. Speaking of tomorrow, you guys can join us tomorrow, as we will be on the legendary 96.5 WUFO, and we will be continuing to talk draft. We will do our final mock draft before the real thing happens on Thursday. Excuse me. Wow. So we will get into that, but we want to thank you guys for.
We didn't get into the hog mollies, right? We only said, what did we say? We didn't.
Oh, you want to talk about the hog mollies?
The hog mollies, right? You want 3?
You want to talk about
3 out of 5. So you take.
That's a bet. And by the way, Dean says that Darnell Washington counts as a hog molly.
I'm already know he counts as a hog molly.
All right. Let's get into the big boys. I can appreciate a big boy conversation.
So I'm gonna jump into your world, right? Your fantasy world, right? Before we, we close this thing out. I'm gonna jump into the General's fantasy world. Okay, so in the General's fantasy world, according to my dictionary,
all right,
the Bills will move back with Indy. Indy is desperate to move up. They're willing to give us 79. All right. So now the Bills will have swap picks. Bills will have 35, 59, 79, 91. That's 100 picks. I mean, that's 4 picks in the top 100. All right. In the first 3 rounds, may I say. You could do a lot. You could do a lot of damage and grab a lot of impact players with 4 picks in the top 95. This might moving back 8 spots. So God forbid that we know that Darnell Washington's still going to be there at 35 because he still can go. he still can get gone at any point in time right in there. But if he's still available at 35, I'll take Darnell Washington. If I feel that the Jack Campbell chatter is getting too high at 59, I may slightly move up. You know, maybe I'm not sure. If I hold at 59 and Campbell is there, Campbell is my guy. At pick 79, again, it's going to be some receivers that could be potential there. A.T. Perry can be there. Cedric Tillman can be there. What do you do at 3? If they don't take a receiver at 3 again, DeAndre Hawkins is on the list at pick 130. But so you still can go linebacker there at 79 if you don't go with Campbell right there. You can go get a best available player like a Daoud Jones may slide to 59, offensive tackle. You know what I mean? He may slide right there. Bergeron from out of Syracuse, you can nab him there. If you feel that his projection is where it is at that point, the Bills could address safety there. So um, there's so many directions that this team could go in. So you got Washington, you got Campbell. Give me Dexter. All right. Give me Dexter at pick 79. All right. I'm going Dexter at 79. At 91, give me Jordan Battle. I think the Bills shake it up with a safety, right there. Jordan Battle. And pick 130 is getting traded to Arizona. You know what I mean? So I think that's a little bit more than 3 hog mollies. With your first 5 picks, you have 4 of those in the top 100, and then you, with the cherry on top, you take your 4th round pick, which is DeAndre Hopkins. Trade that 4th round pick to Arizona. I wouldn't mind the 4th round at that point if the Bills get another pick in between there. For DeAndre Hopkins, they can have that 4th at that point. We already drafted 4 guys with DeAndre Hopkins, and we still got more picks. The Bills still got a lot of roster, to fill. So I mean, it's best to have them in draft picks rather than, undrafted. I mean, I think it works a little bit more better than that. They would rather have more drafted players than, UDFAs.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we got Washington, Jones, Bergeron, Dexter. That is your 4 hog mollies. Any honorable mentions you want to throw out there? Any guys who you think might be a little under the radar?
I think it's some people. It's some. I know the Bills is loaded at corner, but some reason they just love corners. Maybe they're looking for a corner they could convert to a safety. Julian Brent, Corey Trice, but Corey Trice will be available in the later rounds. Yeah, the Bills get it. They could. We ain't talking about edge rusher. But what if Nolan Smith slides to 27?
I think he might. I think he could. Yeah, I don't want to say might. I think he could. He could.
I don't see it, man. I
don't
mean,
either, but he
had
could.
the same. He did the
Remember,
same thing.
N'Kobe Dean slid.
Yeah, but N'Kobe Dean was like 6 foot.
And they call him undersized, though.
They call him undersized because of his weight. But Walker is the same kind of frame, and he went number 1 overall, right? He went to Jacksonville, right?
You know how these draft people is. They always find one reason.
I don't see Nolan Smith going. I don't see Nolan Smith seeing 27. I don't see that.
All right. We got one more question from my guy TJ Dirt. He says, "What about a hybrid safety linebacker combo? Wonder who could fit that mold."
Who could fit that? Is it a player or in the draft? I mean, the NFL player in the draft.
Do you think there's any players that could possibly fit that mold for us? I mean, I have somebody in mind.
It's tough to see it. I don't think there was too many 6'3", 225-pound, the guys that's out this year to run 4.4. Wish you can have a guy like Isaiah Simmons. You know what I mean? And you can move him, have him at that hybrid safety linebacker. Won't be known like that unless
what about
next year or something like that.
the kid out of Clemson or Dion Henley?
Um, yeah, but that's Matt Milano's spot. That's the whole thing about that. Like, if Diane Henley, those guys, Trent Simpson, they definitely can play the will, but the Bills play at 4-2-5, so it's only two guys in the middle of the field. So basically you got your stack backer and you got your will linebacker. We don't have a stack backer right now. Somebody got to step up to the plate, whether it's Dodson, Klein, rookie, Bernard, you know, somebody has emerged. I think Bernard is more of a Milano, will than he is a stat backer. But he do have those instincts and traits to blitz well. So never know how season two plays out.
Was that me?
We just did the wave.
Oh, okay. We back.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's where that is, man. So we'll definitely have to see maybe tomorrow something to be hot off the presses. But I mean, if this is it, these are some of the I think it's a lot of pieces out there that the Bills can draft throughout six picks, six solid picks, where they're in a good position. I don't want to say they don't need much, but they need guys that can be an impact, that can pay dividends now, right away. If you're not going to get right away in free agency, you better get right away in the draft. Ain't no waiting for development into 3-4 years. If you're trying to go after a Super Bowl, you need right away guys in this draft, or you better go get right away drives guys in free agency. You know what I mean, or a trade or something. You better do that. That's the only way I see it. But it's definitely some hog mollies out there that Brandon Bean can choose from in any round he sees fits.
All right. We're gonna close out this episode. We're gonna bring back a moment with Muki real quick, right? But I got a question for you this time. Who is a player who might be on the Bills' radar that you absolutely do not want?
In the draft,
Yeah.
Zay Flowers. Zay
Oh,
Flowers.
people gonna be mad at that one. I'm clipping that one.
I know you clipping that one.
Right.
They may end up getting Zay Flowers too.
No, I'm not gonna clip it. But all right. that was actually a really, really good show. Shout out to the coach Muki. Another great episode here. So we will see you guys tomorrow on, like I said, legendary 96.5 WUFO, and with another episode of BLEAV as well. It'll be like a joint project there. So as we get up out of here, Coach, you want to go ahead and send us out?
Can the Bills fight fire with fire? Go get D Hop. Do you believe? Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports contests and events with first to market odds and lines. Now, find reviews and news for every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. Bet Online continues to be the top online resource for all sports information from live in-game betting props and futures. Head to Bet Online today or use your mobile device to join today and make your first sports bet. Now, use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your 50%. Welcome your bonus on your first deposit. Now, Bet Online is where